Hey, it's Elisa, the Half Asian Tarot Queen, and I'm doing another reading. I was going to mention that I am planning on doing some kind of giveaway for the last part of May, but I'm just kind of trying to figure out what the best way to approach it is, because I think it was a little buggy, the last one. But I'm going to start out with a mystical shaman. Just want to let you know, thanks for watching, and thanks for coming to this channel. If you're new, you might know that actually the videos on this channel are arranged a little bit differently because I arrange them according to storyline and not according to zodiac sign. So there's a number of playlists on the channel that have to do with like certain zodiacs and certain storylines that kind of recur on the channel, and they're like the related readings are kind of threaded together in those playlists. So if there is like a storyline that kind of resonates with you, you can connect with the other videos that are related to that same storyline. Okay, so it's pretty crazy because the cards that came out, well, as always, they flow together in a really interesting way, but I feel like this is a really profound message. So I got the Time Master, and this is actually the first time that I've gotten this card. And it's really interesting because it kind of invites you to have a different perspective about time, because we often, we think of time in a linear way, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, the 31st, the 1st, the 2nd, and what this is talking about is that actually time isn't linear. It depends on your perspective, because a lot of times there's cycles in our life that kind of recur, oftentimes when you look back at your life, you'll say, oh, that was the stage where I did this, and then something happened, and then there was this new era where I became a mom, or I took this new job, and then there was another cycle that opened up later, and it's less linear and it's more cyclical. And oftentimes people find over time that there's like recurring cycles that happen in your life. So for example, sometimes there's like lessons that repeat in our life where we might have different people or different situations that come and go, but they're kind of the same situation with different people because it's like we haven't learned the lesson. So it kind of repeats, time repeats. And so this card is letting us know that we should take a broader look, and take a step back out of the day-to-day like drudgery of life and look at the larger cycles and what that's trying to tell you. And then that flows really nicely into this card, which is the curse. And so this talks about karmic lessons that sort of repeat in our life, until we learn them. And oftentimes we inherit these karmic lessons, so for example, you could inherit a mindset of scarcity from your ancestors, and so you keep repeating this cycle of scarcity over and over again, and until you learn, to change your perspective on it. Or, there could be a repeating cycle of a number of things, bad relationships, toxic patterns, any number of things. They're like karmic lessons, so this is inviting us to take a look at maybe these recurring patterns that have happened in our life. And then we have the Wind, which this is a card of change, which is like basically breaking the chain, we're breaking the chain of this toxic pattern. And what's crazy is the final card we get is the Spiral, and that brings all of these cards together because the Spiral talks about repeating cycles in your life that happen and, maybe karmic lessons or repeating cycles. You know, you might have the same situation happening over and over with different people because you haven't learned the lesson within yourself that is going to allow you to ascend beyond this lesson. And this card indicates that that event is happening. Whatever this curse is that's been recurring, you've finally gotten perspective on it, and you're actually moving beyond this. This is changing, and you're molting beyond this lesson into a new way of being, a new era. So that's really interesting. I mean, I think for myself, one thing that I could speak to is living in a cycle of scarcity. And like right now, like I'm being attacked, you know, and trying to be brought back into this scarcity, but realizing that no, I've learned this lesson now. Like, I don't need to live in scarcity anymore. This isn't who I am. And so like I'm sort of deflecting it, to so to speak. You know, I've like grown beyond this lesson now. And you know, that's one example, but you know, another example could be, you know, just getting in the same relationship, the same bad relationship with an abusive partner over and over, because you need to learn a lesson within yourself so that you aren't attracting that situation, but also that you've drawn boundaries around yourself so that you know, can protect yourself from that. And what's crazy, so I'm going to the Radiant Wise Spirit to pull some general energies for the reading, and we have Judgment on the bottom of the deck, which that's a reckoning, you know, which basically is talking about this whole phenomenon of learning some lesson and then elevating past it, you know, onto the next cycle of life, because the next card after that in the deck is the World, which is the end of one cycle of life and the beginning of a new cycle. So, okay, I'm going to pull one more because I just had a couple fall out, but this is really interesting because there's definitely been, oh my gosh, too many. There have been a lot of change that's been happening, and ever since the coronavirus happened, you know, everyone's been going through this big shift, you know, in their consciousness because we've had to, and I think people have kind of had time to reflect, and now things are starting to open up and people are starting to move again, but we're all re-engaging the world from a different perch now, you know, because we have taken this time. And, you know, at the bottom we have the Eight of Cups, which is like moving on from something that you invested a lot in, but towards something else, you know, where we've let the past go, you know. So I've got the Magician card, the Eight of Pentacles, and we've got the Six of Pentacles. So this is a card of manifestation, of being able to turn lead into gold, and just having all the tools you need to manifest your desire, you know. And then we have this, which is this can be the card of a craftsman, but it's a card also of just like making a dedicated effort towards something. And then we have a card of giving and receiving, and a card of bringing this into balance. So it's almost like we've manifested some sort of healing event. You know, we've had to make like a dedicated effort towards this, but it's like brought into balance, you know, this giving and receiving, which is like, it's kind of like I was speaking to the lesson of scarcity. But this applies to a number of lessons. It's just like, if you have like a wound around that and you believe that there isn't abundance and that you can't manifest what you need in the world, then you're going to kind of block, you're like hoarding, you're going to block the flow of abundance from coming to you. But you need to be open to receive that flow, you know. And so sometimes when we're like in this scarcity mindset, we actually block ourselves from receiving that abundance, you know? Or in the example of the bad relationship, it's like we might not think that we deserve a better relationship, so we just keep hanging on to this one that's not serving us and it's not making us happy because we're scared there's not going to be another one that's coming along. But actually there is, you know, but you have to be open to the flow, because abundance isn't about hoarding, and it's not about stockpiling. It's about being open to the flow, you know, and there's always a flow. But if if you block that flow, you know, then you're living in scarcity, or you're settling for a bad relationship, or, you know. I'm going to the Golden Universal Tarot now to get some general energies, but I have the Ace of Swords at the bottom, which is like a message of truth or clarity that's just kind of like a paradigm shifter, you know? So it's just like, maybe, like, this is coming to light, you know, whatever this pattern is that's been recurring, it's like having like some sort of aha moment where you're like, oh, like, I get it. Like, I see how I've been doing this, you know, like, it finally makes sense. I see how I've been, like, sabotaging myself or blocking. Like, you're able to see the pattern from a larger perspective so that you can move on to the next stage, you know, which I think we're all kind of doing, because it's just like I said, you know, we've all had to take this time to reflect and sort of recalibrate because of the coronavirus, and now we've done that, and it's time to re-engage. Okay, so at the bottom here we have the Nine of Pentacles, which this is a swinging singles card, you know, like card of sort of like, I did it my way. Like, this woman is like really successful in her own right, and so she doesn't really need a relationship to complete her. Like, she's good on her own, you know. She's kind of healed herself, and she's ready for what's next, you know. But so we got the Queen of Cups, we've got the Nine of Cups, and we've got the Ten of Cups. So it's really interesting, because I was talking about this woman, and she's healed herself, and she doesn't really need anyone, you know. So it's almost like she's healed that wound within herself, and now she can re-engage the world with this open heart, you know, like from her heart. And in doing that, she's going to bring in her wishes. Like, her wishes are going to come true, and she's going to step into this full abundance and happiness. This Ten of Cups is like everything, you know. You have your family, you're abundant, like, you know, it's like a full and happy life. And so what's interesting is underneath this Queen of Cups, we have the Magician, and she fell on top of the Magician. So this Queen of Cups is, she's manifesting, like, she's fully in her power, and she's like in alignment. And her wish, it looks like, is there's this message of love coming in. Like, she's getting her wish. So somehow she's like healed whatever blockage was blocking her. And now it's like her wish is coming toward her. And then we have, underneath this Ten of Cups, we have the Moon card, which this is a card of watery emotion and feeling, you know. Like, this is like happiness, abundance, like her wish, her deepest desire. It's like coming true. Interesting. I'm going to pull like 3 more cards from Radiant Wise to see how we might move through this. But it's just, it looks like a huge paradigm shift, where it's just like she's taken the time to reflect in this downtime and realized, you know, like what pattern it was that was blocking the flow of abundance, you know. So, like, it looks like there's some message that's coming in. We had the devil that fell on top of this manifestation card. So this is like a toxic, you know, emotion, toxic situation falling on top of this Queen of Cups who's like manifesting. So maybe, you know, whatever this blockage was, whatever this toxic situation that's been blocking her desires from coming true, it's like she's got two magicians and one devil, you know. So she's going to manifest her way out of this. You know, she now has the power to overpower whatever this is. And then we got the Two of Wands, which, you know, they've got the world in the palm of their hands, and they're sort of like at this fork in the road, you know, like they need to make a decision. And that comes right on top of this, you know. There's some message of love that's coming in, which is her wish, and it looks like it's requiring her to make a decision, you know. And so then we have the Queen of Swords on top of this, which is like, this is a no-nonsense queen who's just like going to cut through, and she's just not going to put up with any guff, you know. She's just going to cut through to the truth and remove any barriers to her happiness. So perhaps there's been this toxic situation that's like been blocking that happiness, and like now she's finally in her power to like actually remove that obstacle. So this is really interesting because it kind of goes along with it. I just did the last reading I did was a divine feminine reading, and it was called The Divine Feminine Keeps the Faith, you know, and it was all about the Divine Feminine had done all this work on herself, and now she was kind of like bringing in her own abundance, like building her own foundation. And it was like a really solid, you know, fruitful foundation that she had built for herself. And so she kind of like cut the cord on things that were like not really serving her. And then, you know, she brought in all this abundance for herself. Which is really interesting because it's this message seems similar, you know. I mean, there's definitely related themes going on. So, okay. Oh my gosh, it's crazy how I kind of keep getting these same messages. But I'm going to this Yogic Path Tarot, which has, well, the artwork is beautiful, but the messages also are quite beautiful. So I'm going to read this message, which is the Message of Ahimsa. It's interesting because one of my really good friends, she works at like this, it's like they train animals, and it's called Ahimsa, but it means nonviolence. You have been observant about how your thoughts affect your actions and how your actions reflect the quality of your life. Through actively changing your internal monologue, you are manifesting a heightened state of consciousness and a new paradigm. Continue to fine-tune your inner language to radiate compassion, joy, and peace. Even the most disciplined yogis still often look in the mirror and think negative thoughts about themselves, get frustrated when stuck in traffic, or speak words to a loved one that don't radiate pure love. These moments are your guru reminding you of where you still need to grow. Overcoming your triggers facilitates growth. Each time you feel the voice of negativity coming through, sing back to it words of ahimsa, compassion. You'll quickly find these words echoed back by all those you encounter. So this is really interesting because it's talking about, you know, overcoming these patterns and triggers, and that's how we're going to elevate to this new level of consciousness. It's like, you know, the outer world is just reflecting what's going on internally. So it's like you have to heal yourself first, and then you'll just naturally heal the world around you. But these cycles, they keep repeating until we learn them. And really, every journey is an internal journey, you know, and that's kind of the lesson. So leave you with that thought, and we'll check in soon. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.